What is happening, collectors? Today we are talking about should you grade your cards? So this is something that I've had a lot of people ask me is they are excited about potentially getting their cards graded through a PSA or another grading service, but they don't know which cards to send in and they don't know what to expect in terms of how it's going to be graded. So I'm going to walk through a lot of things I've learned over the last year and some of the mistakes I've made and some of the tools that I've gained that have made me more successful when I'm grading. If you have not seen me before, hi, I'm the Millennial Collector. I do Pokemon openings, Pokemon news, PSA, Beckett returns, lots of really cool things. So definitely, if you have not subscribed, please consider subscribing. So let's jump into it. The first thing is what do I need? So the first is you need to have a good magnifying glass, or what I use is a loupe. This is actually a jewelry loupe, and this will magnify it, I believe, up to 10 times. That just helps me look at the imperfections potentially, looks at corners really well, and I'll show you on camera a little bit how it works, but that is very important. The second thing is a good light. Now I don't have this is normally my hair light. This is what makes my hair look all beautiful because, you know, I'm always concerned about my hair. But I decided to use my hair light to show what the cards are going to look like. So you need to have really well lit area if you're going to be analyzing your cards. And I would say don't wear gloves. I know some people will wear gloves. I would just have well washed hands beforehand, just so some of the natural oils are off of your hands. That is the best way to combat potentially damaging your cards. So now we're going to talk about the grading criteria. This is the same for pretty much every grading company out there. Some actually put it right on their labels, some of them don't. So it comes down to centering, edges, corners, and surface. Those are the four very important things that you need to be aware of and what you need to look at your cards to see if they're perfect or if they're not perfect. So let's just take a quick look. This is a Jungle Pikachu. So I have got my very trusty light here, and I'm just gonna go and show you very quickly. As you can tell, yeah, the edges, they don't look great. On the top there's a little bit of dirt, not great, but the surface is mostly okay, but you can see a lot of dirt on the side there. And then when you look to the back, yeah, you know what? There's some whitening. There's whitening around all the edges. So what I'm actually gonna do here is I'm gonna just put my light down just for a quick second. Actually, you know what? I don't really want to hold it, so I'm just going to turn that off for a moment. And let me just show you here. This is how my loupe will work. Now, I don't know if I can get it working through the camera here, just from a focusing challenge perspective, but you can kind of see what we're working with here. So you can see, like, yeah, that's not a good looking corner. So I'm not going to use this for the rest of the video just because it is a little challenging through a camera, through a magnifying glass. But that is the things that you need to look for. When you look at this Pikachu, hey, you know what? It's centered, not bad. It's got some dirt. I could probably try and scratch off some of this dirt because it looks like it probably could be scratched off. But when I look at the back, you know what? Like, quite a bit of whitening around the edges. It's just something to be aware of, and these are the things that you need to analyze to decide, okay, do I want to send it in? And one thing I didn't even really mention, you have to understand why you're sending it in. Are you sending it in because you have an emotional attachment to this card and it's not really worth much, but you want to get it, you know, encased and showcase it to kind of the world? Or are you truly doing it for a value perspective? If you're doing it for yourself and you don't really care what the grade is, then go for it, absolutely. But if you're looking to make money at it or potentially increase the value of it, it's important to understand what the card is and can it increase in value by going, you know, to a PSA 9, 10, whatever the case may be. Now, there are some cards like a first edition base set cards that no matter what it's graded, it's probably going to increase the value. But more modern cards, you can actually devalue the card if it's not a good grade. So definitely something to consider and make sure you do your research. So as we were talking about a more modern card, here is from Hidden Fates. Here is a Sylveon. So this is a pretty well-centered card. Not perfect, but, you know, pretty darn good. It might be shifted a little bit to the left and maybe down a little bit, but nothing too crazy. And then same here, it's probably shifted to the left and down. But the edges look pretty good. The corners, not bad. There is maybe one little nick at the top there. But overall, this is a pretty good card. I would say this is probably a PSA 9. won't get a PSA 10 by any stretch of the imagination. So now I'm going to show you actually some graded cards just to give you an idea of what they look like. I'm going to show you specifically PSA and specifically Pokemon cards. I can do future videos on sports cards and other grading services as well, but I want to focus on one because they're all so different and their standards are quite different. PSA, they aren't the harshest, I would say. At times, sometimes it is quite difficult. Certain cards is difficult, but to get a PSA 10, they do allow a little bit of forgiveness. So I'm going to start with, here is a Charizard base set PSA 8. So this is a good card. It's a valued, I'm not going to even say the value because it seems to be changing every week now with how crazy it is here. So I might actually need a little bit of light because I want to, yeah, I might throw the light on in a moment. So looking at centering, it's not bad. It's probably shifted a little bit to the left. Up and down is okay, I would say, but there is, yeah, definitely a slight shift to the left, which doesn't actually necessarily take away, you know, a point. And I'll explain about that when we look at the next card. When we look at the back, yeah, look, there's a nick in the top left, there's a nick in the top middle, the bottom, there's a nick. That corner looks mostly okay. So there's definitely a few things, and then if we took a really close look at the hollow, there might be some on the hollow. Looks pretty good overall though. Yeah, there could be a print line right there, up down, and then there might be some scratches there as well. But so PSA 8, not bad, still a valuable card. But it just goes to show this is still quite a good looking card, very small imperfections, and you get deducted 2 points. Now I'm going to show you here, this is a PSA 10. This is my Blastoise PSA 10. Again, I'm not going to tell you what I think it's worth because it changes so regularly. But when you look at this Blastoise, you can tell already right off the get-go, it is shifted to the left. And this goes to show that you can still get a 10 and there would be something minor wrong with it. Whereas if you're looking at Beckett, they are a little more critical to give a 10, or let alone a Black Label 10. But it is more challenging to get a 10 from those grading companies. PSA, there's a little bit of forgiveness. They do forgive a little bit here. But other than shifted to the left, you know, the back, I would say, you know, I don't see anything really. The edges are kind of just normal wear, maybe a little bit in that top left corner. The bottom, maybe a little bit in the bottom left. So you see, it's not pristine. There are still, if I were to crack this and send this on to BGS, I'd probably be disappointed because it come back at 9.5 or 9, hopefully not. But and I'm obviously not going to do that. But so that just goes to show. And then you've got cards like this one here. This is a Ninetales. This is also a 10. I would say shifted again to the left, just a little bit. Hollow on this one, I remember looking at this one, was perfect. There was nothing on this hollow. And then on the back, this one, it was very clean. There was no marks, there was nothing. So this would be a good one to send. Is that a little something maybe there? Maybe at the bottom right. You know, this could be potentially a 10 if I send it back in. Black Label, no. Just from the centering alone, I can tell it's not gonna. It wouldn't get a Black Label. So a few things to understand about PSA, and I would encourage you to watch more videos. I have other videos on my channel where I'm going through more different grades, just so you can really see the range of what to expect. So really look at your hollows, really look at your the backs of the cards, really look at the corners to understand how well do they look. And again, being well lit, having something you can magnify to look a little bit closer is really, really important to see how good the card actually is. A couple things I did want to show you as well. These are 2 cards that I am going to be sending into PSA to be graded. And this is a Evolutions Charizard. Prices are going crazy right now in Evolutions as well. But I wanted to just give you an idea of what I looked at. Now, when I first pulled this, I was like, okay, it's off-centered. And it's not too far off-center. When I look at my Blastoise and what it got graded as a 10, it's no further off centering from that card to this card. So I was probably not as, you know, I'm not as critical as I used to be just from learning a little bit more. Centering's pretty close. It's shifted maybe a little bit to the left, but top to bottom, it's not bad. When I look at the back, that's where it's a little bit more of a problem. I definitely can tell that it is shifted. Maybe shifted down a little bit. It's actually not as bad as I recall. And then when I look at it here, yeah, we got a little nick at the top. Other than that, maybe, no, that's just the glare. Yeah, it's a pretty good card. This is a potential 10 candidate. I would expect a PSA 9, but hey, stranger things have happened. So that's what I'm submitting there. And then here, this is where it gets a little more tricky, because that is a good card. That's going to grade anywhere from 8 to a 10. Pretty safely, unless I've missed something major on the surface. Then you get into something like this. I'm going to start on the back. This is a base set Blastoise. The back, okay, not bad. There is one little nick there. There's a little nick at the bottom. There's a nick at the bottom here. A couple nicks, no more, I would say, than what maybe a PSA 8 or 7 would be. But then when I flip over to the front, hollows have a little bit of light scratches on it. Centering is not bad. It's pretty close. It's pretty close. But the big culprit here, look at that scratch right there. That is a very obvious scratch right above Blastoise's head. And, I don't know, because of where it's located, I feel like they're going to dock it more than if it were in a less conspicuous spot. But, this is where it becomes a little trickier. When there are obvious glaring mistakes or damage to the card, you don't really know how they're going to react. Because rightfully, this should not be a PSA 8. But could it be a 7? Probably not. Could be a 6. I think that's probably getting closer to where it's going to be. But I could be wrong. Again, I don't know exactly how they grade it. And yeah, so that at least gives you an idea of the challenges that you have to do understanding. You just look at all the imperfections in the card and then have to make kind of a justification. And look online. There are so many people that have shown their cards, so you can get a good idea of what, damage, kind of what the end result is of that grade. So there's just a little bit of homework that you have to do with the tools that we talked about today, and you can better educate yourself on a reasonable expectation. And I've even made some mistakes as well. If you go look back at some of my first submissions to PSA, I sent cards that had no right being sent. It didn't really make sense, and at that time I didn't know what I was doing, which is okay. There's learning, and there's things that you've got to do to kind of learn and make mistakes. That's okay to do it, as long as you learn from those mistakes, I guess. But it's important. I guess it really does boil down to, why are you grading your cards? Are you grading them for yourself? Are you grading them to invest? Are you grading them to sell? Are you grading to keep? I mean, there's a lot of different reasons why. And for me, I actually really started the base set here because I grew up. That was a part of my life when I was younger, collecting Pokemon cards. And I found a set, because I unfortunately sold mine. I found a set and I graded them, and it was just something I wanted to have in my collection. And then some of them came back 10s, which is pretty incredible for a 21-year-old set. And then that kind of, turned into more and more and more as I'm, going after other cards now. But it's really important to understand why you potentially would want to grade your cards. Anyways, that's it, guys. I hope that was helpful. That was very high level. I didn't want to make this a super long video, but I wanted to just give you a few more things to think about and hopefully understand how the grading companies operate and what to look for in your cards. Now, I do have other videos that I've done, and I'll put that in the eye above as well, of how to mail them to the, your destination, the safest way to ship them. So I appreciate you guys coming in and watching this video. If you have any questions, leave a comment down below. I'd love to potentially give you an answer there, or if there's other ideas for videos you would like on grading, let me know. Thank you very much, guys. I hope you have an amazing day. See ya.